You're live.
And this is Senate Transportation, and we're resuming our testimony with Ledge Councilman Damian Leonard, and we are back on mileage-based user fees.
So for the record, I'm Damian Leonard from the Office of Legislative Counsel. The chair asked me to prepare the draft that you see in front of you, which is a rough initial draft of what it would look like to transition all motor vehicles that are registered for highway use in Vermont to the mileage-based user fee 6 years after the mileage-based user fee takes effect. So that would be January 1 of 2033, or upon the occurrence of contingency. And I'll get to those in a moment.
I really don't want to cover the contingency piece.
Okay.
But this, and here's where the I thought that we would put the we did the calculation, and we had joint fiscal come in and talk about if we got the 50 million back for purchases
Yep.
and in that piece, when would that money run out? And I think from joint fiscal, what we heard from Logan was that given inflation, given the drop off in fuel taxes, and where that we would in 6 to 7 years, that's when we would begin to fall off, and that wouldn't be enough to cover it. So the initial thing is to just start the conversation around this table. When would that would be the breakoff?
So the language in front of you, the key changes to most of this, and I want to preface this by saying, so this is off of I've made amendments to the initial draft of the mileage-based user fee, which, as you know, the House is working on amending, and based on the discussion today, there's already a few changes that are coming, likely more before that bill moves. So the first key change, though, is just in the purpose statement, just replacing language related to battery electric vehicles with all motor vehicles. That in itself is a policy choice for the committee. You could potentially structure this so it applies to a subset or to some motor vehicles, but not others. The current draft would phrase it as motor vehicles registered for highway use. Throughout the rest of the draft, what you'll see is BEV, or battery electric vehicle, has been replaced with motor vehicle. The definition of BEV is deleted because it's no longer necessary. And otherwise, the changes are, there are no other major changes in the overall draft language itself. And it really gets down to a discussion for the committee about an appropriate effective date, and whether or not you want to have a revenue or funding-based trigger that could trigger an earlier effective date. The way there are 2 examples in here that have possible triggers. They're potential triggers that I came up with JFO. The chair hasn't had a chance to review them yet. So they are really just for thinking on and discussing. But what they would say is that they're at the very end. They're listed as contingent effective date option 1 or contingent effective date option 2. Again, these are just discussion points, but they would basically say that the effective date for these changes would either be January 1, 2033, or the January 1 following the occurrence of some sort of revenue factor. But it's up to you to discuss whether that makes sense.
So the agency has not had a chance to review this.
No.
They will have comments. The discussion that I think needs to happen with the agency will be, what are the things that need to happen to move in total to this? What if we're looking at, realistically, you couldn't do anything even if we went breakneck speed for 3 years to move it out to the whole world. If we're out of going to what, at the best case scenario, we've only got enough money to go out 6 years. What do we need to do to get ourselves in a position where we can even consider moving to everybody for mileage-based fees? And I think what we've seen, we're facing right now with going live with mileage-based fees. We this year have to set the rate if that's going to happen. There's steps that are going to need to be taken. This is just the first salvo in what would we need to do if we were going to move to a place where I think, from my view, if we're going to treat everybody the same, a mileage-based user fee for everybody is the only way we're ever going to treat everybody the same. So this is just the first step in starting a conversation.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so looking at the language, and just as I think I'm following, we may never see this because we are going to expect something from the House, so we kind of are waiting for them. So this could be totally
Or we might add on.
Or totally, exactly. I don't know, maybe they say they don't want to do it at all, for example. So under the first contingent effective date option 1, I guess so the e-board, I guess I know, are you saying you don't want to explain this right now, or you want us to review it, or can we ask
I
questions
think
about it?
the
just don't
agency
understand what-
hasn't got a chance to review it. So I think what we'll want to do is we'll wait for the agency to come and come.
Oh,
Because we're
okay.
gonna have to hear from them, what are the different steps in this process?
Mhm.
You know,
But the trigger is to do what? It's triggering what happening?
And not going into place.
For who? Every single type of vehicle?
Yep.
Okay.
So this is hypothetical, but you're pushing off the EV part of the MBUF until 2033.
no,
No,
Yeah, so the EV part of the MBUF, this is just what you see in front of you would be additional sections beyond the MBUF,
okay.
that proposal that would be coming over from
this
the
would be
House.
added on to this.
So yeah, so
Okay,
the
that
EV
was-
portion of the MBUF would happen in 2027. Assuming that's the date that comes out of the House, that's the current proposed date. Is to begin that transition in 2027. And then this is proposing transitioning to other vehicles in 2033. I should have been clear about that when I walked through. I left off the rest of the EV portion just because I didn't want this to be a 22-page document.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, that's where.
It's not a rewrite, it's.
No, it's
No.
just,
this is add-on of everything after that.
yeah.
I now understand your concept. I like this direction more than what we had originally seen as the proposal, because it does help alleviate some of the fear that I had that we're just gonna put EVs on the tax runway of an indexed fund without the gas tax also being looked at. So does this have anything, are there any changes to the indexing of the gas tax in the proposal?
Nothing at this period of time, nothing, this is just. My view is whatever we do, we took a step what we're doing right now is not compatible to everybody across the board here. We took a step when, as a state, when we did the registration and added to the registration, but it was a step. It didn't go all the way to make that fair. What's being proposed would be another step. What are the steps that we have to do, and what do we have to instruct the agency to do to get us ready in, and I just picked the date because of what Logan said was a period of time, and the only proposal that would get us out there. If that is 6 years, what would it take for us to be ready to go in 6 years? Because if we don't start planning now, we're never gonna get there.
Do you, and can I just ask, like, the thought process behind the two different options? Is the idea that we would only expand it to all vehicles when we experience a revenue decrease of us? Because if maybe I'm going into deep, I know you want to wait for the agency, but it seems like, if I'm understanding at least the second option.
Second option. I'd like to hold up.
Okay,
that.
never mind then. Well, then I have no questions then. I really just have those.
Thank you.
Questions about those things.
Thank you.
Because I feel like we hit it already. I guess that's what I'm saying.
No, I
Okay.
just hold up on the second option.
Okay.
I guess I didn't, we don't know exactly what the House committee is gonna do in that piece, but I want to get it out there and say to you, if we, and you know, I clearly don't think the House is gonna move on purchase and use, but they may move a little. What I've heard, but if they did, and the proposal that the governor, I think we've had, the testimony we've had, as I've said to you, is we run out of money in 6 years.
Yeah.
So, what's the long-term solution, and what does this committee think the long-term solutions?
If, let's say, you were someone on the committee who had other areas of amendment to the MBUF language.
You're gonna get a total chance
Okay.
to move.
There's no.
There's no,
Okay.
we're just trying to set a path in your mind where you can, and there'll be options, and, you know, this is, nothing's in stone.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right,
Are we? Well, that's it, we can discuss that further. Are we confident that we have 6 years? I mean, with the inflationary costs of
I think-
materials, and he figured that out.
I think we're gonna have to talk about all of that.
Yeah,
This was just based on what the testimony we've had so far,
okay.
okay? This point, can you, soft line?